And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for a new episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrisanthon, and joining me today is Paulo Bethencourt, who is the president of NEO. So, welcome to the show, Paulo. I'm so excited for our conversation today about your platform.
Thank you, Anya. I was looking forward to it.
Paulo, to give our listeners a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be talking about today and for them to get to know you a little bit, tell us all about Paulo. Who's Paulo? How did you get into home building industry? And most importantly, what is it that you do now? Tell us about your platform.
Sure. My path into real estate began in at first glance in an unrelated industry. I studied music. I started my career producing Broadway style musicals for cruise lines. Then I became a composer for Warner Brothers Discovery Channel, moving to a producer and arranger for all the major record labels, and eventually becoming an artistic director, A&R for Sony Music International. It was a remarkable period. I was fortunate to earn 5 platinum albums, 5 gold albums, a Grammy nomination at that time. But the deeper lesson from the years that I had little to do with music and more to do with the human coordination, and that's one of the things that I learned over there. Because when you are in a studio, if you are standing in front of an orchestra, you immediately appreciate the fact that harmony is not an accident. It happens because dozens of people, each with their own talents and temperaments, they choose to follow the same score, the same tempo, the same cadence. And if a single person moves ahead or falls behind, music becomes noise, right? So when I transitioned into real estate about 20 years ago and later joined Lennar Homes, I brought that sense with me, that understanding. And so I became VP of International Operations for them. I created the International Operation Program for Lennar, and then later VP of Marketing. And those two roles were fantastic. What a great opportunity. Immersed me in every layer of the home building ecosystem: developers, agents, brokers abroad, lenders, markets. And what stuck with me the most was that there's so much potential there, but also so much it was simply lost because the industry didn't operate with the same respect for rhythm and cadence that you find in music. So that's pretty much my background.
Love that. I always love hearing how people find their way into home building. It's so rare to hear somebody say, "Oh, ever since I was a little boy or a little girl, I just wanted to be in home building." So it always seems to be an interesting path. So I've never heard somebody quite going from conductor of music to conductor of agents and builders. So what problem were you trying to solve when you decided that NEO needed to exist? And what made you confident that this wasn't just going to be another portal? So tell us a little bit about NEO.
It's a good question. When I first encountered Neo, it was in its very early stages. I was approached by the founders who had built a compelling piece of technology, something with potential to solve one of the greatest structural problems in new construction real estate in terms of communication. So when we began collaborating, our goal was to evolve the platform so it could support anything from a small custom home builder to a top production home builder and everything in between. But the understanding was there that technology alone wouldn't create that harmony that I was mentioning before. What the industry lacked was not just a digital tool, but a unifying principle. And that's where that music background resurfaced almost instinctively. If real estate industry is in fact an orchestra, then each group, builders, agents, international brokers, marketeers, now they're all their own section. So now, but unlike a real orchestra in our industry often operates with each section reading like a different version of the music, let's say. Some having complete information, others have contradictory information. So the result isn't really a coordination, it's more like cacophony, right? So the idea was to shape Neo State only, Neo, into the equivalent of a music sheet per se, a single authoritative source of truth, place where builders updated a price, floor plan, phase release, amenity timeline once they were completed, and that information flow would flow instantly across the entire professional ecosystem, and not only locally but now globally. And as the platform matured, it began to take a second role as well, which was not just being the score, but also being this conductor presence, setting the tempo, maintaining the cadence, ensuring that the right information enter the system in the right moment, helping each section of the industry come on cue so the overall performance became coherent rather than fragmented. So that to me is the origin of Neo, is the convergence of a strong technology with a foundation and a belief that people operate from the same source of truth. When they do that with a shared temple with cadence, they can create something beautiful together.
Very nice. You guys started this platform in Florida and Texas for a
Mm-hmm.
specific reason. So
Mm-hmm.
talk to us, why was going international unavoidable for you?
Let's go back to Florida and Texas. Those states already depend on international buyers, whether builders track it or not. So Florida and Texas, they do attract a lot of foreign capital, cash buyers, investors, and that makes that international destination or distribution unavoidable. International demand wasn't coming to those states, it was already there. So what we wanted to do is to learn as much as we could from this organic business coming into those states, learn those lessons, and start creating systems that could be replicated in other states as well. And this has been also my path at Lennar for 10 years, trying to replicate systems that did work and how to amplify organic business. And in the end, it ended up being a very successful venture. At Lennar Homes, for instance, the program that I started, we had an opportunity to begin the program from zero. It was a brand new division. And we looked at the Miami, South Florida market with so much international business coming from South America in particular. And we looked at that and we thought, okay, can we compete with that much business and can we even surpass it? So it was a work that took about 5 years to not only pass it, but oversell Miami 3 times, right? And then become the de facto most successful international sales program in the country. In that one single division of Orlando, and again, a brand new division, we were selling roughly 1,500 homes to international buyers, over $500 million a year to international buyers alone. And that represented 50% of the entire operation that we had in Central Florida. So the idea was, now that I'm at NEO, is taking all that knowledge and trying to teach that to other home builders so they can capture some of that market share as well.
Very good. So, with your experience with international, if you take international investors or agents who are selling internationally, what is it that they're looking for that most builders actually are not set up for? And also, how does NEO reduce risk for home builders using your platform for international sales specifically?
Great questions. I think that you have to, let's make a distinction here. Domestic buyers buy homes, international buyers buy assets.
Mm.
So they need clarity, they need confidence, not necessarily just more listing. They cannot visit early, they cannot visit often. Many times they're making the entire decision sight unseen. They don't understand the local rules. They worry about the mistakes more than the price. So international buyers really are not looking for the hype. They're looking for clear answers. And that's what NEO tries to provide, the single source of truth where the developers are dictating what goes into the platform. They have full control of the entire information and also the tempo of what is being displayed over there. And the buyer, if the buyer is touching 3, 4, 5 different brokerages along the process of search and due diligence, they are going to find the same information coming from every single point. So this is quite important. Once you begin to have contradictions in information, that causes confusion and increases obviously the sense of risk, and they pull back. And NEO comes as being this platform that just makes things more transparent, clear, and information is just flowing everywhere at the same time, and so everybody knows the same things.
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem, especially with new construction. Homes, you can get some information, but new construction, so many moving pieces. Nothing is the same. You have the land, you have the house, you have the option, incentives, everything's constantly changing. So yeah, it's definitely a big issue for builders, I think, to sometimes to keep track of their own stuff, let alone communicating that information correctly to agents as well as investors. And you're so right, so much of the transaction is trust. If you don't feel comfortable that the information is current and actually correct, then that trust gets eroded pretty quickly. So, how are you guys different then from your traditional MLS? Like, how are you actually able to keep all that information current?
We have a great deal of respect for the MLS. It is one of the most important institutional innovations in American real estate by far, right? A system that brought structure, transparency, cooperation to the resale market. But it was built for a very specific case, local resales. New construction operates under a very different set of conditions. And when you add international demand, those differences become even more structural. So an MLS is by design local. It documents what already exists within defined geographic boundaries. And NEO was built for what is being created. Communities that evolve over time with phases, releases, changing inventory, amenities that are coming online in sequence, and pricing that is also moving dynamically. So complexity doesn't fit neatly into a listing first static framework like the MLS. So the distinction is not philosophical, it's more architectural. NEO is a project first rather than listing first platform. Information originates with the builders. It is verified by the builders, distributed by the builders globally in real time, utilizing NEO. And that same source of truth can be understood by an agent in Florida, in Brazil, in Mexico, as we were saying before, without translation errors, delays, and version conflicts. So scalability is probably the other key differences, because the MLS systems, they were never designed to operate across borders, different languages, taking into consideration currencies, regulatory environments. So NEO is from multilingual infrastructure to global distribution in machine level connectivity is the platform that was built to absorb complexity rather than break under it. So we have to understand these idiosyncrasies of every market, how to communicate. So even in the translation aspect, which we can talk later, that's when it was the first time that we started using AI in the platform. We took 3 different models and trained them on real estate language, and to make sure that the country or where the buyer is, and once they're accessing the platform, that the information will be properly translated, and not only translated but also the essence of the message kept intact, right? So was very important. So again, the MLS remains essential for resale, local market, corporations. NEO becomes more like that infrastructure layer for the new construction, but also in a global context. So one ecosystem organizes what exists locally, and the other reveals what is being built globally. So together they serve different chapters of the same industry, but NEO is written for the chapter that is now unfolding.
Very interesting. And Paulo, of course, we cannot talk about real estate without talking about the agents and the love-hate relationship that home builders have with real estate agents. Now, you have a line that I absolutely love. You say that the 3% isn't a commission, it's actually marketing. So walk
Mhm.
us through that.
You only pay when a deal closes, right? Let's start with that. That's what a commission is. There are some exceptions in South Florida, for instance, condo buildings, they are paying upfront, but that's not the norm of the market here in the US. So you have no upfront ad spend. You have no wasted clicks. You have no international media budget, right? It's performing market with zero risk. Basically, you have that alternative, which is to let the real estate agents do the marketing for you if you properly train them and you give them the tools that they need to do, or you're going to try direct to consumer strategies, which are much more expensive. And so, to me, when you add it up, when you put it pen to paper and you make the calculations, and I obviously did that in particular when I was a VP of marketing, and I could compare the marketing strategies that we had domestically versus those that were international, that were running 100% with real estate agents. We could see savings there. There was no doubt. So the numbers added up. To me, it was the best money spent in terms of lead generation and quality lead generation for us.
Yeah, it's interesting how we embrace the agents when the market is crickets, and when it's hot, then it's suddenly maybe we don't need them so much.
Yeah.
So now you mentioned a scaled commission model, like rewarding for more deals they make. So walk us through what's the typical structure should look like for a home builder.
To operate with international business.
Maybe international or domestic. If you were the builder, how would you set your commissions in order to reward maybe highly productive agents?
Wonderful. I love that question. So I think that you have to apply the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, to through the way you relate with your real estate agents. And I'll try to explain this in a way that is understandable. It is very important to look at agents, create KPIs, understand their behavior, and understand those that are coming back to you again and again without you naturally chasing them. A lot of home builders, they're concerned about paying 3% commission to an agent that just comes in the end of the transaction, right? Maybe it's the cousin of the buyer, a friend of the buyer, and they don't like that. They feel like it's unfair to them that they are paying that commission to that agent. I think that if we step back a little bit and think about creating programs such as loyalty programs that scale commission,
Mhm.
that those one-offs, they are getting paid less commission because if let's assume that the home builders are correct that those transactions would happen anyway, the appearance of that real estate agent was not relevant to the closing of the transaction. You can create a scalable commission where you pay, let's say, 2% to those one-offs. Then on the second sale, you pay 3%. And then on the fourth sale and on, you're now paying 4%. That is truly important. You begin to create a loyalty program in there with real estate agents that produce the most. You want those people close to you. You want to bring those people into your room. In particular, those that are bringing you 10 sales a year, 12 sales a year and above. Those people, they could be your advisors and they will love to be your advisors. If you invite them to come into the room, you open the curtains, let them see how the sausage is made and let them see the operation. They will understand your pain points as a home builder too. And they will appreciate that. And they will even defend that whenever they are with their customers and buyers. There is a shift, psychological shift when they understand your point of view, but that requires us to understand their point of view as well. So it is that process of getting closer and closer to these top sellers that makes this so useful to home builders. It is that understanding of their point of view, they understand your point of view, and then there is a level of synchronicity that happens over there that usually you don't have if you just operate the way that you are. They come in, they present you a buyer, you pay them a commission, and you go for the next one. Study your real estate agents. They have knowledge to give. They have knowledge to impart. In particular, if they are operating in other markets, in other states, and also internationally, they have a lot of information to give. They can guide you on how to build that operation for you. So be friendlier with real estate agents. There are those 20% that produce 80% of your business. Bring them closer to you and see them as strategic partners because they are.
Excellent points. And I agree with you, especially if you have that agent who's brought you multiple deals already. Your life as a sales agent for the builder becomes so much easier too, because now they know what they're doing. You know how each other like to work, right? So your life becomes easier, and it just makes sense that the easier you make it for them as well, they bring more and more deals for you, and that absolutely should be rewarded.
Yeah, I always told my people first deal is learning, second deal,
Mhm.
confidence, and third
Mhm.
deal, that is momentum. So if you have that third deal, then we have to start paying attention to that real estate agent.
Absolutely. Now, home builders always obsess over the customer journey, but what are they missing on the B2B agent experience? So, if you had to completely redesign the builder's agent journey, what are some of the things that you would fix right away?
So many things. First of all, absolutely necessary to have a tool that communicates well with them. The way that we are doing, that we relate to real estate agents today makes no sense to me. We create our websites,
Mhm.
beautiful websites like the ones that Anugo produces, full of bells and whistles. But home builders are trying on their websites more and more to capture business directly, direct to consumer strategies. They are trying to bypass the real estate agent. I do understand the reason. It's look at this market right now. The budgets are tight, right? You look at the production home builders, the largest ones, and you look at their earnings calls, and you can understand their pain. Their net profitability is below 9% at this point in time. So paying a 3% commission, that is a lot when your net profitability is 9%. And at this point in time, I feel like we have to utilize this labor that you have because the real estate agents, they are your sales agents too if you properly train them and if you properly empower them with the tools that they need. Your website is, the builder's website is being designed more and more to tailor to consumer and to get that lead directly without the real estate agent. But the real estate agent needs resources in order to sell your product. So how do you bridge that gap? Static PDFs, enough, right? Static PDFs are obsolete the moment they go out the door. Information is changing all the time, in particular if you're a home builder. Drop boxes with 500 pictures, floor plans, and elevation, and you just counting on the agent to just put all these pieces together correctly and create a brochure that properly represents your product, and knowing that they are most likely are not going to have the language in those brochures, the disclaimers that protect you. So that's not marketing, that is liability, right? So let's move into the future right now, and that's what we're trying to do with Neo. Is let's give them a platform that is white labeled, that they can use confidently, that their leads are protected, that they know that the leads are not going to be passed on to anybody, sold to anybody. The same for the builders as well. Give them all the tools in real time, so all the bells and whistles on your website, continue doing what you're doing, try to attract the consumer directly to it, but give them a tool like Neo that they can then promote your products correctly. Something that works well in terms of marketing, that evokes emotions, that talks not only to the frontal cortex but also the limbic brain of the buyer, and brings them closer to saying yes to you. But you have to equip them with tools that are modern tools. PDFs, they are not another tool. It's time to move on. And I feel like there is a lot of resistance in our industry, not only in this regard, but also even the way that we are constructing homes. We can talk about that. But we are still building homes the same way that we did 100 years ago, one nail at a time under the weather, where all the other industries have already moved into industrialization process, and they're doing things indoors with minimal waste. And so it's something also that needs to be discussed. I think that us home builders in having a symbol of the hard hat is so appropriate, because we are hard-headed, right? We have a hard time just evolving sometimes and just moving into the future, adopting new technologies and ideas. So here, companies like my company, Neo, your company, and you go, I think that's part of our mission, is to knock at the doors of these clients of ours and keep pushing them to just evolve, embrace new ideas, embrace new technologies that actually work, that you can pragmatically verify results, because this is quite necessary. Everything else is moving. Our industry must move too.
Absolutely. You mentioned already that one of the ways that you guys are keeping all your information current is you are using AI in your platform.
Mm.
When builders are thinking about AI right now, I think you can't go anywhere without seeing something about AI, talking about AI, but some of them are probably like, we'll just wait. So, what is your definition for AI ready in 2026? And what do you think builders should demand from, let's say, their vendors as they're looking at potentially partnering with new companies going into IBS?
All right, let's unpack this.
But
So at Neo, we think that AI should not be just another gadget layered onto your platform, but it should be a gradual widening of our capacity to communicate with people, external services, and eventually with users themselves through intelligent agents. So let's go one step at a time. So for us, the first stage is what we discussed already, was linguistic. So if you aspire to serve a global market, you must speak to it literally. So we build a multilingual AI trained specifically in the language of real estate, not generic translation, but terminology, context, meaning, and everything we talked about. The second stage, which we embarked on, was the stage that we are in today, which is connectivity. Human connectivity is complex, but the reality is that machine connectivity, machine communication is often, even more systems do not naturally speak to one another. So if stage one was communicating across cultures, stage two for us is communicating across technologies. We have to focus on making Neo a technological polyglot, and now integrating builder feeds, APIs, a range of external platforms, so data moves with consistency and clarity. The industry has honestly always lacked. For us, then the third stage, which is what we're doing right now, also is to rebuild Neo with a modular architecture that grants the platform a degree of neuroplasticity. I don't know if it's correct to be using this term here, but I think that it's this idea of mirroring the brain and how it works. I think it's quite correct. The traditional software becomes brittle as it expands, right? So one change introduces another fault. We wanted the opposite. We wanted a structure that grows more adaptable over time. Think of it as a platform design, not just to evolve, but to evolve gracefully. So if you have certain blocks and components of your platform and you want to remove a block and insert another one, today in a traditional platform, if you do that, you break a platform, right? 6 months of engineers are trying to figure out how to get rid of those bugs. What we are building right now, this new platform that is about to be launched in spring, is a platform where every connector in every block of the platform is intelligent and is AI driven. So if it's imagine that you're transplanting an arm, in case of Neo, if we put a new block, it will connect all the nerves, all the arteries, and do that for you immediately, not in months of coding. So that's what we're trying to do right now, because we understand that the future is moving so fast that if our platform is not able to pivot along with the future, we might become obsolete in 2-3 years. So it's important to have a platform right now that has this kind of malleability. And then comes the fourth stage of AI. For us, the way we see it is where AI shifts from merely being responsive to becoming more genuinely helpful. And I think that you and John talked about this, right? The agencies. And as Neo expands, the platform will contain an ever-growing universe of new construction opportunities, but with intelligent curation. So moving away from this traditional search formatting that we have, where you just give some parameters, a 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, this and that. Okay, this has worked really well, has worked for Google really well, but now what? There's so much information out there. I don't think that the search engine, the way that we operated today, is working anymore. So we need,
I would say it worked really well for Google to
it
make lots of
did,
money.
it
I don't
did.
know if it works
Uh,
so well for builders or the home buyers.
but we see even Google is moving away from that
Right,
as it
because
is incorporating
yeah, I
AI.
don't think they have a choice because
They
that's how people
exactly.
want to search.
Exactly. So intelligent curation, I believe it's the new keyword that it should be using here rather than search, because otherwise the user becomes overwhelmed. So we're designing Neo's AI agents to function less like a search engine and more like this curator. And a curator role is to understand the purpose. Talking about a curator of a museum, right? Is understand the purpose of an exhibition and select only the pieces that belong on the wall. Now they may have 10 times more pieces in storage, but they have to just pick the ones that are most relevant. In the same way, Neil will interpret the buyer's needs better and better with AI running throughout every block of it and understand the needs, understand what the buyer is seeking, even though maybe objectively the buyer doesn't have that level of consciousness yet, right? Because yes, they do know the basic parameters, but there is something emotional that they're seeking, and our AI will try to interpret that, filter the noise, refine the possibilities until it reviews the few homes or the one home that truly fits what the buyer is searching. So it's not about narrowing choices, it's about elevating relevance. So when we speak about AI, now the theme for us is running through these four stages, right? Communication with people, language with machines, connectivity, adaptability, and then finally this intelligent guidance that will allow us to find information. Because going back to how we were describing Neo before, Neo is a global platform. We have agents all over the world utilizing Neo, but the products are in the United States. But pretty soon we'll be introducing products from other countries too. So it might become quite overwhelming, and it's important for us to have products or have this kind of diversity inside Neo in terms of product, because investors, pure investor, is many times agnostic of geographics. They just look at market conditions. They want to make sure that they have a place that they feel safe to invest on. But they might decide to diversify themselves and have a few homes here in the United States and a few homes in another country. We want to be the platform that provides that. So the more data we have, the more listings we have inside our project, we have to make sure that we have a way of filtering that down and giving this information that is relevant to the buyer instead of confusing or paralyzing them with overanalysis.
It's very obvious to me that you guys have given this a lot of thought and this is not like an accidental thing you're doing. So it makes me think, and Yugo is very similar in our thought of how we're delivering this new websites, for example, where it's like, right, traditional way is you build this website, takes 6 to 9 months. By the time you deliver the website, it's probably already outdated. And then you have to break it down and rebuild it all over from scratch in a couple of years once it becomes outdated. Yeah,
Mm.
that's what we're doing with our websites instead, too. It's you never have to upgrade it or rebuild it from scratch. It just upgrades itself as you go along. So, yeah, very smart way to do it. And I think with specifically with AI, and you guys have such an amazing opportunity to attract all those international buyers because maybe those international buyers are not necessarily speak English and they definitely don't speak the builder jargon that we all have gotten used to over the
Yeah.
years that you and I may speak fluently and then maybe some of the agents speak fluently, but certainly the buyers are not speaking that fluently. So I think AI is really going to break down those barriers to international buyers and think about just how many possibilities you're going to have as a home builder to now showcase your homes not only locally in your town, not just in the United States, but globally, especially with AI having capability where it's no more FOMO, right? Because the agent is shopping on your behalf. You tell it what you want and it notifies you when this is available, and same opportunities come up for international investors. So I think that's great, and that'll only increase our market, increase our profitability. So I'm really excited for 2.0. Any other features that you guys are rolling out or anything we can look forward to in 2026 here with your platform?
I think the beautiful thing of the platform is that we understand that the proliferation of technology and the abundance of new technology out there is so amazing that rather than trying to invent everything within the platform, why not partner with those people that are creating those tools that are quite useful for our buyers and also for our agents and developers. What we want to do again is we want to be adaptable. We want to be able to communicate with these technologies. We want to be able to incorporate them as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, and because then we are giving our users the best that is out there, right? So they don't have to be searching for 300 different platforms. They are going to find almost everything that is relevant in this real estate search inside Neo. So it is communication again, and that's intrinsic to what we do. That is the core of what we do. We want to communicate better with others, being
Yes.
it buyers, being it agents, developers. We just want to be a better communicator, a more intelligent communicator.
So speaking of being better and more intelligent communicator, we're all going to be heading to sunny Orlando to join you in a couple of weeks at the International Builder Show 2026, where both Inugo and Neo are going to be sponsoring Sales Central. So you guys make sure to stop by, say hi to me, say hi to Paulo. We're both going to be there hanging out pretty much from 9 to 5, all 3 days. So stop in, say hello, even if it's for 5 minutes, we'll be happy to see you. Now, Paulo, if people want to learn more about Neo, what's the best way to learn about you and your platform? And if somebody wants to connect with you personally, is there a place where you hang out on social media most?
Yeah, so we obviously LinkedIn is the platform we use the most for communicating with our clients, agents, friends, trade partners. It is the best connector. Now, in terms of information about Neo, is newestateonly.com. Newestateonly.com. You're gonna find everything that you need over there. You can try the platform. You can try it for free. You can really dive into it and see what it can do today. Now, we are here announcing firsthand in this podcast that we have a new version coming out in spring. I think that you're going to be impressed with what Neo already is, but just wait because what's coming next is going to be mind blowing and transformative for the industry. So please get in touch with us. We are looking forward to talking to people, collaborating, whatever industry you're coming from. We want to listen, we want to learn, we want to talk to brokers, which we do all the time. We want to understand their points of view. We want to talk to more developers, understand what is it that we're missing so we can incorporate those features into the platform. We are excited. We are just growing thing that feel that we are in the right moment, the right time, the winds are in our favor, the markets are opening up for us, governments from multiple countries are contacting us so we can launch the platforms in their countries. Super exciting time to be doing this.
Very excited for you. I will be sure to link your information right in the show notes so you guys can check out Neo as soon as possible. And of course, stop by to see us at Sales Central at IBS 2026. And Paulo, before I let you go today, was there anything that I did not ask you or we did not cover as it relates to any of the topics we've covered or did not cover today that you think is important for our listeners to understand?
Oh, wow. I think that maybe one thing that we did not cover much was this untapped opportunity of international business. This is something that home builders are just wakening up to, but it is important to understand. We had $56 billion of transactions happening last year, international buyers purchasing properties over here. We're talking about 76 to 78,000 homes that were purchased. This channel already exists. The question for you home builders is, are you tapping into it? Because if you're not, your competitors definitely are, right? Imagine what an extra 10% of sales could do for you in a moment like this, in a tight market like this. In particular, sales that are 50% of the times they are cash, almost no fallouts, almost no cancellations. This could be very transformative for a home builder. So people just need to open their minds a little bit, start looking outside their regional and geographic constraints, looking at other states, looking at other countries, and understand that the opportunities are abundant. So when I mentioned that at Lennar, we created a program where in some of our divisions, the international sales represented 50% of the sales. Think about that. We are talking about thousands and thousands of homes. There will be incremental business for your company. There is some education that needs to happen, and we are glad to give that to developers that want to, and home builders that want to discuss it. And there is some little tweaks that you have to do in the operation just to make sure that you can communicate with these buyers and attend to their needs, which are different than a traditional domestic home buyer. But once you do that, you go into a market that will help you have better control and protect yourself against this market swings, market cycles that we have. Because we know if we look back to 1795 when we started tracking market cycles in the United States, we know that every 18.5 years or so, we are going to go from a seller's market to a buyer's market and vice versa. And this will continue to happen like a heartbeat. So if you strategize right now, and start preparing for not only this downturn, but also the next downturn, because you want your company to be there, and prepare yourselves because domestic business goes down, international business goes up. And that's what we've been observing now for several decades. So international business is coming in where it's the most needed and alleviating issue of large inventory, sitting inventory for many home builders that have been doing systematically. So if you're not doing that already, it is a strategic response to a problem that you already have. You have to open your eyes and ears and begin learning about how to build an international strategy for your business.
Love it. And it's hedging your investment portfolio with bonds, right? When you have stocks. So,
Diversity, yes.
Paulo, I'm curious, who would be the home builder that you're like, okay, if you're building at least X amount of homes per year, if you're this size, if you're doing this, like you've got to check out the platform.
Any size home builder, even smaller custom home builders can benefit from this. To get an extra 10% of international sales, regardless of what market you're in, is not something that difficult. It just requires some focus and some attention. But I would say if you're building 500 homes and above a year, wow, you're missing out. The opportunity is there for you. In particular, if you are in one of the 15 largest metro areas in the country. There is demand, the business is already here. Just learn how to tap into that and grab a little slice of that pie, right? You deserve that little market share.
Love that. You guys, so before you head out to IVS, make sure to check out Neo and see what it's all about and see how you can sell more homes. So, makes sense to me. Paulo, thank you so very much for being a guest on our show. Really appreciate you. Really feel like you opened my eyes, certainly, on different possibilities and how our home builders can diversify and reduce their risk, increase their profits, and really expand their business internationally. So it's a no-brainer, guys. Make sure to check out Neo and Paulo. Thank you again for being on here, and I will see you very shortly at IBS.
Thank you, Anya. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye
Talk
bye.
to you soon. Bye.